Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Experience Grad York session, Faculty of Science Graduate Admission at York University. So my name's Eileen, and I'm the Graduate Recruitment and Liaison Officer here at the Faculty of Graduate Studies. My role is to help prospective students navigate the grad admissions process at York. And if I can't help or answer your question, I can refer you to someone else at York who can. So today's presentation will take about half an hour, and then we'll have an open Q&A at the end. So for what we'll cover in the next half an hour is a brief introduction to York University, talk about why someone might want to attend graduate school, the basics and eligibility of each degree level, touch on science graduate programs, then talk about tuition or how much it costs to pursue a grad degree at York, and then move into forms of financial support, which include funding and scholarships. They're separate. We'll go over why. And then lastly, we'll go how to apply, when to apply, the documents you'll need to submit, all the nitty-gritty details for that. So, if you're a York undergraduate student, forgive me. You're probably already familiar with lots of this. But in case you're not, York University is the third largest university in Canada, and we're located in the heart of the Greater Toronto Area, just a subway ride away from downtown Toronto. So Toronto, of course, is the largest and most diverse city in Canada, with a population of around 6 million. And 50% of the population was actually born outside of Canada. So English and French are the official languages, but over 200 languages are spoken by residents across the region every day. So York has several campuses in the Greater Toronto Area. First up is Keele. So Keele is our main campus. It's where most science graduate programs are located. Keele is basically a city within a city. There's approximately 50,000 students overall at the Keele campus, and about 10% or 5,000 are graduate students. We do have Glendon in Midtown Toronto, and it's our bilingual campus, English and French. Glendon is much smaller than Keele. There's about 2,000 students overall, about 5 to 10% are graduate students. So as of right now, there's no science programs at Glendon, but our last campus, we officially opened Markham in 2024. So it's located just north of the city. Currently offers 5 grad credentials, 2 of which are science programs, and has a few hundred students with growth coming for sure. But overall at York, no matter the campus, the faculty, we've got just over 80 graduate programs, over 100 degrees available on offer, degrees and diplomas within those programs, and then just over 6,000 graduate scholars and postdoctoral fellows in every area of campus. So for why someone might want to pursue graduate school, we've basically distilled it down to 3 reasons. So for professional growth, personal development, and academic excellence. So in terms of professional growth, a graduate degree opens doors to higher employment rates and higher salary rates. For personal development, the opportunity to learn and grow and create lifelong connections. And then for academic excellence, contributing to knowledge, advancing knowledge, even creating knowledge in some cases. And you're collaborating with the best and brightest minds in your academic field. So now we'll move on to the basics and eligibility of each degree level. And we'll start with master's degrees. Excuse me. A master's degree is the first degree level of graduate studies available that you can pursue once you've finished an undergraduate program. So master's degrees usually are 1 to 2 years in length, and that's preset by the program. It's not chosen by the individual student. And usually, traditionally, a master's has had one of 3 formats. So coursework only, major research project, or thesis-based. So for a coursework only degree, you're entering the program and you're doing a set number of courses, usually between 8 to 10. Once you're done, that's it. You're done, you can graduate. Then for a major research project-based program, you are still doing some courses, usually about 6 graduate level courses, and then a research project where you're writing a paper of about 50 pages on your project. And then lastly, there are thesis-based masters, which if you are wanting to pursue a PhD in the future, this would be the best option for you. But you still take a handful of courses, but really only like 4 total through the whole program. And then you are doing a large research project in addition to that, which is culminates in a paper of about 100, between 100 and 120 pages. So some programs offer all 3 formats. It's up to you. Others, it's a choice between 2, and others still, it's only offered in 1 format. So if you want to do that discipline at York, it's available in that particular format. And there are formats outside of the traditional. So for example, one of the science programs, Biotechnology Management, is a year of coursework and then a year internship. So there definitely are some new and innovative types, but traditionally you're looking at those 3. To be eligible to do a master's at York, you need to have an honors undergraduate degree. So traditionally it's been called a 4-year degree, honors degree. If you're a York student, it's the 120 credit degree. And we look at your GPA or your grade point average in your last 2 full-time years of study or the equivalent. And we're looking for a B plus or above in those last 2 years. So on different grading scales, a B plus is a 77 out of 100, 7 on the 9-point scale, 3.3 out of 4, second class upper division, 4 out of 5, 15 or 16 out of 20, so on and so on. If we didn't touch on your particular grading scale, we certainly can in the Q&A afterwards. One thing to keep in mind is that grad admission at York is competitive. There are always more applications than there are spots in a program. So just keep that in mind. There's no guarantee of admission if you meet the minimum requirements. Next up, there's PhD or doctoral degrees, which you can complete, or you can pursue, I should say, after you complete a master's degree. PhDs are usually 4 or 5 years long. They can potentially be 6 or more, depending on the amount of time it takes you to complete your research project. PhDs, for the most part, you enter the program and you take courses in your first, maybe second year. Then you write your qualifying or your comprehensive exam, and then it's years and years of research. So truly the amount of time it takes to do the degree is the amount of time it takes to complete that research. To be eligible for any of the science PhDs on offer, you do need to have a master's degree. We would look at your GPA or grade point average in your master's, and the requirement is a B plus, maybe a little bit higher than an A minus or above. Then there's a lesser known third credential, but Faculty of Science has a pretty popular one. So it's a grad diploma. Now, a diploma is a handful of courses in a certain area where either there isn't a full degree, or there is, but there was demand for a shorter credential that was like get in, take the coursework, get out, go right into the workforce. So entry requirements are the same as they are for a master's. It's not meant to be like an upgrading tool or anything like that. But there's 2 kinds of diplomas, standalone and concurrent. So standalone is where you apply directly to the diploma that you're interested in. You complete the coursework, you graduate, and then ostensibly go right into the workforce. So, for example, in the Faculty of Science, we've got the graduate diploma in biotechnology offered out of Markham. There is another kind called concurrent diplomas. So that is where you would be enrolled in a primary degree program, and then you could do a diploma in addition to the degree. So um, you have seen there's some examples on the screen. You would apply to the degree, and then if you're accepted, you could talk to the program about potentially doing a diploma in addition to your program. So for the programs we'll be focusing on today, we have biology, both the MSc and PhD, biotechnology with the graduate diploma, Biotechnology Management, which is a degree that combines both biotechnology and business classes. Chemistry, we have the MSc and PhD. Math, we have the MA in Math and Stats, the MSc in Applied Math, and the PhD. And then last but not least, we have Physics and Astronomy at both the master's and the PhD level. So towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk about deadlines and individual document requirements. But first, we'll run through finances. So we'll talk about tuition and how much it costs to pursue a degree or program at York. Then we'll talk about financial supports like funding and scholarships and that kind of thing. So we'll do a definition of what a funding package is because a lot of programs in science are funded. So a funding package is money given to you from the university to help cover the cost of pursuing a graduate degree. Funding usually fully covers tuition and health insurance costs, if not more. And if you are a full-time student or a full-time applicant to a program that offers funding, you are automatically considered for a funding package. There's nothing extra you need to do when you apply. You are automatically applying for a funded spot. If you receive a funding package, the details would be in your offer letter. So it would be, congratulations, you've got a spot in this program. Here's how much money you would receive should you choose to come study at York. So both biotechnology, the diploma and biotechnology management are not funded, but all other science programs are. So we'll go first over the domestic table, then I'll move into the international one on the next slide. So for the core science programs, biology, chemistry, math, and physics, the domestic tuition per year is just over $5,000, so $5,200. You can see I've listed out for each of those degrees the standard funding package for the master's program on the right-hand side. So again, you do not need to apply for this money. You don't have to pay it back, and it's not based on financial need. The funding package is made up of a mixture of grants and a guaranteed job as a teaching assistant. For the Master of Biotechnology Management, we have tuition for both domestic students who are residents of Ontario and domestic students who reside elsewhere in Canada. Same for the graduate diploma in biotechnology. Now, all other programs on the list are at least 1 year, so 12 months, and grad school goes year round. So just keep that in mind. For the graduate diploma, it's only 8 months, so this tuition is for 2 terms instead of 3. But you can see as well the in-province tuition and the out-of-province tuition per year. Then lastly, for all the PhDs in science, tuition is the same as it is for the core masters, the $5,200 per year, and the funding packages on the right. Same as the master's funding packages, they are made up of a mixture of grants and guaranteed job as a teaching assistant. And the funding is good for 5 full years, which is great. You may well finish before that 5th year ends, but the funding is there available should you need it. If you're interested in studying part-time, should the program offer it, at the graduate level at York, you don't pay by credit. You pay, there's only 2 categories, full-time and part-time. So you would pay exactly half of what full-time tuition is, which for most programs here is $2,600 a year or $870 a term. That's if your program offers part-time, which science and engineering ones don't tend to do, but you're welcome to do your research on your options for that. Next, we'll move into international. Very similar table. For all the core master's programs, international tuition is just under 20,000 a year, or about 6,600 per term. The funding packages are on the right, made up of a mixture of grants and a guaranteed job as a teaching assistant. Then the yearly tuition for the Master of Biotechnology Management, about 55,500. The 8-month tuition for the graduate diploma is just under 31,000. And then for any of the core science PhDs, tuition is around 19,000 per year or 6,300 per term, with the funding packages being listed here, a mixture of grants and a guaranteed job as a teaching assistant. So same thing in that if you were to be studying part-time, in tuition is exactly half, but it would be very unusual for an international student to study part-time just due to visa and study permit conditions. But yes, the facts remain. If you receive a funding package, great, you can apply for scholarships. And if you didn't receive a funding package, that's okay because you can also still apply for scholarships. They are separate. So there's three main categories of scholarships that York has: current student awards, government awards, and external awards. So for current student awards, you can apply for these once you are a student. Usually the amount is between $500 and $5,000 a year. And each award is different in its criteria. Usually the awards are donated, like money donated to the institution. So the donor gets to decide the terms and conditions of the award. So it could be students in a certain program or students doing research in a certain topic or geographic area. It all depends. Federal and provincial awards, so Government of Canada, Government of Ontario, or their affiliated agencies, these can be quite large. So, 10, 15, 20, $40,000. They are prestigious, they are competitive, and you usually need to have a research component to your degree. So someone interested in biotech or the biotechnology management, those programs don't have research components, so wouldn't be eligible for a lot of the large research awards. But yes, we've put the link in the chat for more information on scholarships. There's also a scholarships information session tomorrow morning for experienced grad in case you wanted to learn more about those. Lastly, for other external awards, these you would apply directly to the agency, corporation, foundation that runs the award program, and they would adjudicate. So not through the government, not through the university. Then lastly, for financial needs-based financial support, we do have bursaries, the graduate level at York. Now, you can apply for these once you're a current student, and you would need to demonstrate financial aid or financial need, sorry. Usually it's no more than $1,000 a year, but that certainly won't hurt. It won't, obviously pay full tuition, but it can certainly help with some of those bills. And then if you are a domestic student who is a resident of Ontario, and you are a degree student, you can apply for OSAP, so the Ontario Student Assistance Program. It's not eligible for graduate diplomas, just degrees. So it's a mixture of grants and loans. If you apply, you'll be considered based on your own finances for whether you get loans or needs-based grants or whatever program they have in the year that you're applying. Speaking of applying, for how to apply, you'll want to take a look at the program-specific requirements, which we're going to do on the following slides here in the presentation. And the application, which is open now for fall 2026 or September 2026, uh, it's open now, and the deadlines, we'll go over those on the next slides as well. Most science programs only offer a September start every year, physics being an exception to that. When you apply, or before you apply for a lot of these programs, you need to find a supervisor. So you would approach a faculty member because most programs have a major research project, if not thesis, to do in the program. So you would have to secure that supervisor before actually applying. That's not the case for biotechnology or biotechnology management, since there's no research component, but for all other MA and MSCs, you need to find a supervisor, and PhDs as well. When you're doing the actual application, it is in two parts. So part one is you fill out the online form. It's really basic information that usually you would just know off the top of your head, like what's your name, what's your address, what schools have you attended. So you fill that out. It takes about 20, 25 minutes. Then you make a payment of $150, and then you wait. So it usually takes about 2 to 3 days to get the confirmation email with instructions on how to submit your documentation to the program. And your application is only complete once all of your documents have been submitted. So, speaking of documents, first up, we're just going alphabetical order. First program is biology. You can see that although apps are open now, the biology program is listed a later deadline of May 15th. However, for maximum supervisor availability, for maximum funding package amounts, since the amounts we went over were the minimums, the base amount, it could be more. The earlier you apply, the more consideration you have for those financial supports. So yes, certainly the earlier the better. To submit or like to apply to biology, you're going to have to submit all of these documents. Now, this is going to be very, very similar for all graduate programs. So I'm going to go into a ton of detail on this first slide in terms of what each document requirement actually consists of, and not so much detail on the following ones. But a lot of you are going to have to submit all of these things, maybe a few tweaked differences. So yes, we'll just start from the top. We need to see transcripts from all of your university studies, from every university you've ever studied at. Doesn't matter if it was you did an exchange, you're a transfer student, you have multiple degrees, you studied 50 years ago, you studied in another country, you studied a program that you don't feel is relevant to the one you want to pursue at York. It does not matter. We have to see a transcript from each individual school separately. Unofficial transcripts are fine. Usually, it's really only if you're accepted to a program that we ask for official transcripts, which final official ones are sent to us from the other school. They include your graduation, all of your courses and grades, that kind of thing. Do not submit college transcripts for your graduate application at York. We don't use those grades for graduate admission, only undergraduate and graduate grades. Next up, you're going to need for this program 3 references. We don't accept pre-written reference letters. So what we do is we ask for the name and email address of your referees, and then we email them a form to fill out about you. So referees can be academic or professional. Academic being someone who's taught you or supervised your research. Professional being someone who's supervised or managed you at a work or volunteer position. Statement of interest is basically 1 to 2 pages, double-spaced, no more than 1,000 words about why you're wanting to do the program, the type of research you're wanting to do with your faculty supervisor, what you're wanting to do after you graduate. Um, yeah, so there's a great video that we have on our YouTube channel. We will be sharing that at the end of the presentation, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's done by the Vice Provost and Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and she does an excellent breakdown of here's exactly what to include in this document. Resume or CV, very straightforward. Same kind of resume as if you are applying for a job. The format does not particularly matter. It's um, a document that showcases your work, volunteer, research, and any other accomplishments or experiences you think are relevant. Then the standard supplementary information form. This is something that all applicants to all programs fill out. And it's basically one page, very basic questions that's just organized in information in a way that makes sense for the committee. Excuse me. And then if you studied outside of Canada, you will potentially need to submit an English language proficiency test score. So IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, Pearson, those are the most popular ones. Then, as you can see, very similar set of requirements for our next program, which is biotechnology and biotechnology management. I've put them on the same slide because they require the same set of documents. So the deadline for the diploma is March 15th. The deadline for the master's is March 15th. But if you apply earlier, you may potentially get a earlier decision. So I would advise applying early, completing the application early, and then checking My File, which is the admissions portal, frequently in the new year. So very, very similar to biology in that you need to submit transcripts from all university study. This one only requires 2 references, so the name and email address of 2 referees instead of 3. And again, they could be academic or professional. The statement of interest. Now, it's not going to be a research-based statement because there is no research component to these programs. But you can talk about why you're wanting to pursue the program, your experience in the area, what you're hoping to do after you graduate, so on and so on. Then resume or CV. And the format doesn't particularly matter. The very standard supplementary information form, and then, if applicable, English language proficiency test score. Next up, we've got chemistry, which has a much shortened list of requirements comparatively. Deadline is February 15th, 2026. So kind of sounds like these dates are, far away or, you've got a long time to apply, but it'll be February before you know it. Can't believe it's the middle of October already. But we need to see for chemistry, transcripts from all university studies, name and email address of 2 referees. Then you don't need to submit a statement of interest. You don't need to submit a resume. We skip right to the supplementary information form, standard form, as well as a language proficiency test if deemed necessary by admissions. Then for math, this is the list for all math programs, whether that is MA, MSc, or PhD. Their deadline is on the earlier side with a January 15th deadline. Whenever a program has a January deadline, I note that the university has a holiday closure at the end of the year. So usually December 24th to early January. This year, I think it is January 2nd. So staff are not at the university over during the period of this winter break. You're welcome to contact us, and we will be happy to get back to you when we're back in the office on January 5th. So just keep that in mind. There's still plenty of time for things to be worked out before the deadline. It's just don't panic if you decide to wait till then to apply, and you just have to wait a few days to hear back from the team. Anyway, back to requirements. You'll need to submit transcripts, all university transcripts, name and email address of two referees, the statement of interest. They've denoted a CV, a resume is also fine. It's whatever format you want to submit the information in. You may or may not have materials for a true academic CV yet, and that's completely fine. They have both the standard supplementary application form, which is supplementary information, supplementary application. They're interchangeable. And additionally, they have their own program form, which they call the degree and program form. That is where they're looking for you to detail which supervisor who has agreed to consider your application or work with you, and some other details about specialization. So that's fully available on their program website right now, and we've put the math program website in the chat. Then lastly, there is the English language requirement, same as every other program. So last but certainly not least, physics has a extremely late deadline of August 15th. However, same with biology, with the deadline being in May. Supervisor availability will fill up. Grants and extra scholarship money will fill up and be unavailable as well. So the earliest possible, the absolute better. So if you're interested in physics, I would start looking for a supervisor right now and connecting with them and getting your application in far in advance of this deadline. The asterisk also means that they have entry points other than fall. So that's not common at York. Most programs are a September entry only, but physics has other ones. So if you take a look around on the website, you can see, okay, like January entry is on the table for this particular year. For documents, we're looking at transcripts from all university studies, the name and email address of two referees, the standard statement of interest as well, resume or CV, very basic supplementary information form, and the language test as well, if applicable, if you studied outside of Canada. So that's really the end of the formal presentation. So I'll just do a quick plug on this slide for the Faculty of Graduate Studies social channels. So we have Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We'll share these in the chat. YouTube especially, that was a thing I mentioned with any program where you have to submit a statement of interest. There's a how-to video for the statements of interest available on YouTube. So highly recommend that on the channel. And then we'll end by putting the Faculty of Graduate Studies admissions contact. So you're welcome to email us at any time with any questions throughout the process, and we're happy to answer.